We live in a universe of patterns. Every night, stars move across the sky. No two snowflakes are ever the same. Intricate waves move across the oceans. The wind creates ripples in sand. Nature's love for patterns extends into the animal kingdom, with a multitude of designs. All of these patterns seem disconnected. But what if they weren't? My name is Natasha Ellison. This is a story about how we can use maths to understand more about nature, to try and help endangered species throughout the world.
People have never really thought, how did the animal get its coat markings? Why does this animal have one coat? Why does it have another coat? Can we understand that?
There was one person who wrote a theory that gave us a whole new way of seeing nature. He was able to see that seemingly different patterns might not be that different at all. His name was Alan Turing. Alan Turing may be best known for decrypting German messages in World War II. Not only did he save many lives and create one of the first computers, he helped us understand patterns in nature. And it was his thinking about mathematics in this kind of way that was behind the first kinds of mathematical biology research. The whole area of mathematical biology is about understanding nature more using mathematics. Alan Turing wrote that patterns in nature can form due to the reaction and spread of two chemicals. These chemicals are called an activator and an inhibitor. The activator encourages production of itself, whilst the inhibitor slows the production of the activator. Turing wrote some special mathematical conditions for this process to produce patterns, such as spots and stripes. We could explain this using an analogy of fires and firefighters. If we imagine a really dry forest, so dry that fires are likely to randomly break out. We could prevent this by spreading firefighters across the forest, waiting for the fires to appear. We can think of the firefighters as the inhibitor chemical, stopping the activating fires from producing more of themselves and spreading out too far. As we predicted, fires break out, and if the firefighters spread much faster than the fires, they are able to stop the production and the spread of the fires, which leaves burnt patches or spots across the forest. That's how Turing patterns are created.
One of the things that this theory of Turing, I think, tells us is about Turing himself, because it shows just what a far-reaching and inquiring and inventive mind he had. In his papers, there's quite a sense of humour in there. There's quite a wry sort of humour and a playfulness. And I think that this paper on pattern formation was an example of that.
So whether the mathematics drove him to get the insight, or whether he had the insight in the first place and used the mathematics to validate the insight, I don't know. But either way, it's just totally remarkable that he would do this. And every time I think about it, I sort of think, just how on earth could you think that thing up? It's amazing that he could do that.
Turing's interest in this area was a reflection of a more complex and more interesting and engaging sort of person than the notion we're often given of this very, very tightly focused mathematician.
And the sad thing is, he He did this work, he published this work in 1952 and he died in 1954, tragically. Had he lived, where would we now be in terms of our understanding of biology?
But we can learn so much more from him. Researchers have used Turing's theory to describe how many things in the world get their pattern. We can see Turing patterns everywhere. From a zebra's stripes, to a cheetah's spots, to the goosebumps on our skin. It's also been used to understand more about how animals use their space. For example, in my research, I study how birds move and why they live in the ranges and the territories that they live in. And instead of chemicals, we look at the location of the animal. And the things that drive this, instead of chemicals reacting together, are animal behaviours, such as an animal moving away from scent marks, or moving towards its den, or maybe moving towards prey. If we understand why animals move in a certain way, maybe we can understand how best to protect them when humans are changing their habitat so much. Could we use Turing's theory to try and help endangered species throughout the world?
When you have an encounter with a shark, if you look at it from the top, you just look at it and it seems like stars moving through the water, just gliding so effortlessly, and it's like looking at a constellation, and it's just really beautiful. The patterns of the whale shark are very interesting in that these unique patterns form the shark's individual spot pattern, and this unique spot pattern can be used to then identify each individual shark. The Whale Shark Research Program is an NGO that works in the Maldives to conserve whale sharks in the area through research and community mobilization. On our daily whale shark surveys, we go out on the reef on the South Area Marine Protected Area. We take identification shots from the left side, the right side, and the top of the shark, and then we run it through a software called i3s, which is linked to the database, and it gives us the closest matches to the shark, and then we are able to know which shark we saw.
Once the research team has a picture of a whale shark, they use the spot pattern from the picture to decide which individual it is. And they use a mathematical algorithm developed by NASA to decide the individual based on the distance between all the spots.
So just by looking at these spots and patterns, we can then recognize a whole lot more about each and individual shark.
Collecting information about each individual whale shark can help with understanding the movements of the shark, the geographical range of the shark, even information about the lifespan of the shark, and help create protected areas for these endangered, elusive creatures.
One example would be in helping us create marine protected areas for the whale sharks. The South Area Marine Protected Area has been created with the use of data collected, mostly through photo identification.
We can use this data that the team collected to be able to write a mathematical model which will help us predict the whale shark's population in the world, which at the moment we don't even have an estimation for. We could find out more about where the whale sharks prefer to swim according to different variables that the team collected, such as temperature, wind speed, or current direction. All of this from being able to identify them using their beautiful pattern. And it's not just the Whale Shark Research Programme. Organisations are now running projects with jaguars and zebras to identify individuals using their patterns. Thanks to Turing, patterns in nature are beginning to reveal their secrets. He's shown us how to create patterns we see in nature, and we've seen such an interesting way of using them. If identifying individuals using their pattern has already had such a positive effect on the conservation of whale sharks by creating the marine protected area, what else can we do? How much more does Turing's theory have to give? And where else can we use it to understand more about our world?